$200, a Super Nintendo setup costs twice as much as the old system. For the money, the company promises better pictures, sound, and adventure. Now you're playing with power, superpower. You're the king, I tell you! The king!
Only for Super NES. You're listening to the SNES broadcast with your hosts, Soul Blazer and George.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Super NES Podcast, episode number 114, coming at you. As always, I'm Greg. He's George.
Listeners of the SNES Podcast, lend me your power.
Yes, we need all of your strength and help to be able to make it through this very interesting game.
I mean, I was just going to make a spirit bomb, but okay.
Well, that works. But, anyway, this episode was George's pick, and we're doing a Japanese-only game again for you this time. So, George, what game did you want to have us, look at?
Oh, boy. Dragon Ball Z Super Saiya Densetsu.
We'll translate to Legend of the Saiyans.
More like Saiyans.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Since you don't know the series, I'll let you off the hook.
Right, I don't. So I admit right up top my, right up top my the top here that I've never really been a big anime fan. I don't really have anything against anime. I think it's just because of the time when it came out versus my age and some of the other stuff going on. I knew about the series, of course. I played some of the games in the past, but I watched a couple episodes on YouTube to kind of give me at least a little bit of background for what I was talking about here. When the research.
Watching a couple of episodes on YouTube is not going to give you enough background information. Let's be honest here.
Well, I also read a summary page. So.
Okay, yeah, that might help.
But what about you, George? Did you watch the anime? Because you're younger, so you probably were more like right in there.
God, this is a big thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
This is a big thing when I was a kid. Originally over here we got what is known as the Ocean dub, where they did that thing where they censored a bunch of stuff and they changed the dialogue and everything. So
right, okay.
The series wasn't as violent as we know it now, and then Funimation went back and was like, we didn't even actually get the whole thing dubbed and brought over to the US, so we're gonna finish the rest of the episodes. And they did that, and then they're like, oh wait, let's get rid of this garbage dub that we had. This, I think it was, I could be wrong, but I think it was some Canadian company that did it or something. We're gonna redo all the beginning episodes that we did, because originally when they brought it over, they didn't even finish the whole series. They only did like a certain section of it.
Interesting.
Which is
okay.
Really weird. So yeah, I'm sure online you could find the original Ocean dub somewhere. I don't know why you would want to watch it.
Yeah. So.
But, yeah, it's really weird to watch. I actually own the whole Ocean dub because they had a really cool collector's thing going on a few years ago.
So yeah,
and it's just really weird.
Oh, okay, interesting. This is. I knew the franchise was big. I had no idea how big the franchise was. Their franchise was. I started looking at it because there have been no less than 7 anime shows. So which ones?
They keep redoing the series.
Yes.
I think right now
they're on Dragon Ball Heroes.
Now the one that they're doing is Dragon Ball Z Super or whatever.
Dragon Ball Heroes is the current one.
There was Dragon Ball GT, which was after Dragon Ball Z.
Yep.
Which extended the story, and then there's Dragon Ball Z Kai or something like that.
Yeah.
I actually don't know anything about those newer ones. So a lot of people are saying Super is really good to get into for people who were interested in Dragon Ball Z but didn't want to sit 4 episodes watching people power up. So yeah, that's the big thing about the original series. I know the original series the best out of all the remakes and whatnot.
Yeah, when people
And yeah, there's a lot of times where you're watching like 4 or 5 episodes in a row, and a lot of it's just like them talking, and like it's like opening up the story, but it's doing it so slowly, and it's like Goku's powering up. Well, what's gonna happen in the next episode? See you later. And it's like, oh hey, no, he's just powering up again. Like, oh no, him and Cell are having a nice conversation for the next 2 episodes.
I think that when people tend to have negative impressions about anime, a lot of it may spring from bad memories and bad impressions of this series, because of that factor, where it's like it's very slow paced and not very much happens, and also the emphasis, the very painstakingly emphasis like upon the fighting, and the over the top ridiculous nature of it all. So. Yeah, it's interesting, but we should probably talk about a little bit about Dragon Ball itself, since it's the context of the game in which we're covering this episode. Like I said, there's a lot to go into. I'll try to give it very.
They talk about Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z?
A little bit of both. I'm gonna
right, because the whole series is like in the Dragon Ball universe.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna try to give it very.
The original series is Dragon Ball, which is almost nothing like Dragon Ball Z.
Right.
So.
Yep. Yeah, so I'll try to give a very Cliff Note-ish, Wikipedia-ish kind of like summary about it.
All right, you got 3 hours, guys. You're gonna be sitting here for 3 hours for the Cliff Notes.
Dragon Ball originally was created in 1984 by like the cartoon and a comic, Magna, if they'd use the Japanese term for it. Which was,
I think you mean manga.
Manga, sorry. Which was created by a very famous Japanese artist by the name of Akira Toriyama.
Yep.
The cartoon originally started. The cartoon Dragon Ball originally started 2 years later, in 1986. So basically, the whole premise about that first show, which lasted for 3 years, was focused upon the protagonist Goku. As he trained in martial arts and explored the world in search of 7 orbs known as Dragon Balls, which gained, which was supposed to summon wish-granting dragons, after they were all gathered up. So the cartoon basically follows his adventures and his growing up to be like an adult and that kind of stuff.
It's kind of like a modified Journey to the West type of story.
Yeah.
Goku's supposed to be like this monkey type of kid.
Right.
So
it also drew inspiration.
Also, fun fact, the whole Dragon Ball series, the original series, is on Hulu. And on top of that, they don't have the English dub. They have it in Japanese.
Really?
Subtitled.
Huh.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. The artist also said he got his inspiration from the Hong Kong martial art films, which that
sounds about right.
Yeah. That influence can also be seen. So the new series Dragon Ball Z in 1989 picked up right where Dragon Ball left off, with the continuing adventures of Goku and his friends.
Yep, Goku. I think Goku's in his not even mid. I think he's in his early 20s or something. Yep. He's married. He's got a kid.
Yep, and that show lasted for 7 years until it ended in 1996. And since then,
yep.
And since then, there've been 5 other cartoons. There's also been a ton of books. There was also 20 animated feature films, 3 television specials, numerous soundtracks, figures, and of course video games. There have been
video games.
Dragon Ball first got released in the West in 1989. As George mentioned, that early version was kind of bastardized, but the translation of it has gotten a lot better since then in recent years. As of 2018, Dragon Ball ranks in the top 20 highest grossing media franchises of all time, have generated $20 billion worldwide in profits.
Mondo cool.
Yep, definitely. Yep, and it's fair to say, it's fair to say a lot of things. Yeah, it's fair to say, it's fair to say a lot of people and things inspired by Dragon Ball. Even some of the more ridiculous over the top elements of it. There are a lot of artists, athletes, celebrities, filmmakers, musicians who have parodied the show or done like their own fan tributes to it or that kind of stuff over the years.
Oh, please, who hasn't nowadays?
Yeah, exactly. So, Bandai got the rights to produce the toys, the Dragon Ball line. Bandai was founded in 1950, and their bread and butter over the years has always been toys, basically.
Oh, my favorite toy is bread and butter.
Mostly, their initial years, they mostly focused upon the rights upon Japanese toys, obviously. Obviously, since the company was founded in Japan, but in later years, in the 80s, in the 80s, they started to branch out in the Western markets as well. There are numerous animes. Pretty much any anime that you want, Bandai has produced a figure for it.
Probably.
Besides the Dragon Ball series, beyond the Dragon Ball series, they're also well known for producing stuff based upon the Godzilla line, the One Piece series, Pretty Cure, Sailor Moon, Ultraman, and some other Japanese series. They also got the rights to produce some Disney stuff in the West. Disney stuff in Japan. Dick Tracy, they had the rights to produce figures for, and some other stuff. Strawberry Shortcake, curiously enough, they had the rights to produce toys for that in Japan. They also got the rights to produce Finding Dory stuff in Japan, and they also Mega Man stuff as well. Has also all those toy figures and whatnot you've seen produced by Bandai, that kind of stuff. So Bandai started to get into video games in the 80s. It was a side venture for them. They never really because they were not a video game company first and foremost. It was always a side business for them. But but the video game line did pretty well over the years. Bandai really didn't produce any games themselves. They more published the games over here, in the West. But they always had a very good relationship with Namco. So it probably didn't come as any kind of shock when 2006 Namco purchased the video game division of Bandai and renamed themselves as Bandai Namco, which is now the 5th biggest video game company in the world.
They put out some really good stuff.
Yeah. Bandai themselves is still in operation Japan as a toy company. They're the third largest producer of toys, behind Mattel and Hasbro. A lot of the Dragon Ball games were produced by a company you probably have not heard of, but probably I guarantee you that you play their games. Tosei, which is a very large and influential company. But they always have had a philosophy in the start of wanting to kind of be behind the scenes. There was a recent interview that the vice president of the U.S. division gave, where he talked about this philosophy, just saying, "quote Our philosophy is not to have a vision. Instead, we follow our customers' visions. Most of the time, we refuse to put our name on the games, not even staff names. So, even this day, they still have a reputation as being ghost developer. So, Tosei got founded in 1979. The only games they put their names on themselves have been the Game & Watch Agari 4 games, because they had the rights from Nintendo to publish those games. So their first big game was a 1981 arcade game called Vanguard, which you may have heard of. Vanguard is published by SNK in Japan and Satori in the West. It's a very important combination of horizontal vertical space game. One of the first games to use voices in the game, and they helped inspire later future groundbreaking games such as Scramble and Gradius. So Vanguard's definitely has a very important role in it. Tosei produced most of the Dragon Ball games over the years. Some of the biggest games they put out here in the West, a lot of NES games, Bases Loaded series, Demon Sword, which is a very important early game. Let's see. Super NES. Mostly sports games. Tetris 2 is published by them. Developed by them. Some Game Boy games. They handled the ports of Dragon Ball. Sorry, they handled the Game Boy ports of the Dragon Warrior games. They also developed they also worked on Metal Gear Ghost Babel like Konami. PlayStation games, Thousand Arms was their game. That was a pretty impressive early PlayStation like role playing game. So Resident Evil Survivor was also handled by them. They've helped collide with some Final Fantasy games. They helped the Namco Star Ocean First Departure. They developed 2 WWE games, SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 and 2010, like the both of those like the DS. And then like the most recent games have been the special edition of Harvest Moon: A Wonderful Life at the PS4, and the port of Chrono Trigger like the PC.
I didn't know those two things were a thing.
Yep. So
okay. Yep. Hold on.
So yeah, Toast is a very interesting company. It's like, this is really, that's what I say. This is the biggest company that companies whose games I'm sure you played. Probably everybody's like played a game that they've worked on at some point, but nobody knows their name because they keep it that way on purpose. So it was very common in the 70s and 80s in Japan, especially for companies to be ghost developers, but like nobody knew who actually like worked in the game or who the actual developers were. I mean, they weren't mentioned all in the credits. Or people got mentioned at all. They used like pseudonyms or their aliases. So Toast is kind of like a throwback to those old days. In which the companies which did all the work on the games never actually got like featured. So there were several Dragon Ball Z games for the Super NES. This was the first game. This came out in this got released in Japan in January 1992, and it's not even like an original game. It's kind of it's a kind of a port / remix of 2 earlier Famicom games, which I'm not even going to try to pronounce the Japanese names here.
Nope, I want you to try.
Okay. Give me a second to get the names back up again then. Let's see. Okay, one of them was called Daimyo Fugatsu. And the other one was called this makes for exciting podcasting. I can't find the name of the game here.
I mean, I could probably maybe find it? ? It's let's see. It is here it is. It's a remake of 2 games. Gokuden series, Dragon Ball Z Kyoshu Saiyan, and Dragon Ball Z 2 Genkishin Frieza.
Right. Yeah. And there's also some people who've also commented this game also borrows heavily like in the third Famicom Dragon Ball game. So even though it's not actually take anything directly like those first 2 games. So
I own a Dragon Ball Z Famicom game.
Oh, really?
And this game definitely has a thing or two that comes from that one.
Yeah. Dragon Ball games have been made in numerous flavors over the years. There have been fighting games, there have been card games, there have been strategy games, there have been dating sim games, believe it or not. Just all kinds of stuff. This game in particular, it's like an RPG. It got translated several years ago, and is now, and the ROM for send a patch print the ROM like freely available, like in the web. And
You have no idea how long it took me to find the specific ROM to translate it with the patch.
Yes, I appreciate the legwork you put into that, George.
Yeah, it was very frustrating because apparently there are a sizable amount of different dumps of this game.
Interesting. Well, I didn't have any problems playing the game after that. After I got the correct patch installed, and
because I sent you the ROM too.
and the transition's pretty good. I mean, there's a couple like small problems with it here and there, but
I think part of that is because just how the game's programmed, they have to do
exactly
certain things. Yeah.
Speaking about programming, you can tell right away this is a port. This is an improved version like some NES games. It shows. The graphics have a very 8-bit style to them, like even though they're 60-bit graphics. Like that makes sense. The whole it's kind of like I guess the Dragon Warrior ports on the Super NES may be the best comparison because you can tell the game looks 16-bit, the game plays 16-bit, but you can tell Super Nintendo roots of the game are still 8-bit. This game gave me the exact same impression. As far as the actual like graphics,
Is it the almost completely featureless faces that you see for the most part? Yeah, with the two black eyes. Yeah, the two pupils, the big pupils. Yeah. There's something about that.
I mean, the graphics are not bad. I mean, they do look like the anime. So, and they are like very detailed. I will give it that much. So.
Yeah, the overworld ones are not super detailed. But
nope. Right.
When you go into flying mode, you're more detailed, which is interesting. Right. But I think my favorite thing though is like you can actually see some accurate art of them in game when you get that special attack where you start flying towards the enemy.
Okay.
In like some kind of like mode 7-esque type of deal going on there.
Yeah.
Like it's like them like flying into the camera essentially.
Yeah, that's actually pretty cool, I thought. So, but exactly. They can tell the game actually. You can tell the game like is very strong, inspired like by the show.
Well, I mean, it loosely follows the events of the show.
Right. Yep. To summarize the story like real quick, this takes place right at the beginning, like where the TV show Dragon Ball Z starts. Goku's visiting friends, like of his new son, Gohan. Shortly after, his evil brother, Raditz, I believe it's pronounced.
Raditz, yeah.
shows up, kidnaps his son. And then like Goku and his arch nemesis, Piccolo. Piccolo. Okay. Take off to get him back. So, and the game goes from there. So pretty standard like RPG stuff.
Nope, and then they learn that, oh no, 2 more Saiyans are coming and they're even more powerful.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what makes this game unique, however, is the the card system that's used in this game. Because because you do your battles this way, and apparently, from what I understand, this is improved over the original Famicom versions, because the Famicom version of the game, like when I read, you have to actually use cards to move, like in those games as well, and not just not just use them in combat. Whereas this game, there's
that sounds like the game I own, but it's that game's more of a board game.
Yeah, so everybody's
it's like a board game RPG, which is. Man, if I was able to read Japanese, I wonder if somebody translated that game.
They probably have by now. Yeah.
That's a cool looking cart, though. At least.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep. So
I have a bunch of Famicom games.
A lot of people are saying thank God they made that change, because otherwise the game would have been torture. So, but
I wouldn't say torture, but yes, it wouldn't be as fun probably.
So the card system in this game is pretty unique. Do you want to try to make a stab at trying to explain it, George?
Oh boy, I don't even fully understand it. I don't know if I can
I don't either. That's why I'm asking you.
I don't know if I can explain it, but so the general idea is that you have 5 cards in your hand,
right?
and you have a limited amount of cards. You don't have to worry about running out of them, but
Thank God
you
for
have to
that.
wait until you use your hand to draw more cards. And each card has attack power and defense power. I cannot make heads or tails out of the defense power because it goes from like 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines to like random character that I don't understand to other random characters I don't understand up to Z obviously being the most powerful. So the attack power goes from 1 star to all the way to was it 7 Dragon
yep,
Balls?
yeah,
I don't
yep.
remember anymore.
Yep.
All the way up to Z, which is again the most powerful. So there's that, and then on top of that, there's each card has different characters, and I don't know. Apparently, certain characters, certain fighters, have like quote unquote favorite cards, and when you attack with their favorite card, they attack all enemies, which is very helpful.
Yes.
And then there's one that lets you use your powers. For some reason, I've seen some people call this magic, but it's not magic. It's just like attacks that use key energy. So
yeah, because there's
I
no
don't know.
magic in the anime, right? It's just like
No, it's all key.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all key energy.
Yeah. So, but no, I think that was a very good description.
Right.
So-
Even enemies have draw their own cards. They
Right.
don't have. I don't think they have a hand. I think they just randomly draw 1 card and then that is their
Right.
attack or whatever. And then on top of that, you have the whole other card system where they're basically items. So like 1 gives you more key energy, or 1 heals you,
Right.
or 1 stuns enemies, or there's one that's actually not too bad that shuffles the card that your enemy picked, which can actually be very helpful if you're in a boss battle, and he just so happened to choose a Z-powered card.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. One other thing I can add to that, characters can also get disabled every now and then because of like special skills. There'll be an X in a box like under their mugshot that happens to them. So as that you know,
I've never seen that.
Yep. It happened to me.
All that time I played, I've never seen that.
It happened to me, unfortunately. So, but
Really?
Yep.
Huh. Wow.
You also have the. So yep. You also have the. You also have the standard like battle commands. Attack, item, run, menu. So it's I do like, however, the attack options. You have the option of either like pick or auto. Pick lets you manually choose the cards. And auto like allows the computer to choose the cards for you.
Yeah, it's good for grinding.
Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly. I really love games that do that. So that was and for 1992, that's like pretty early to have the feature in it. So that's pretty cool. So yeah. So the card system is like very unique. It takes a while to get the hang of it, but I actually liked it. I thought it was like pretty like a pretty like fun twist, like a fun twist on the combat system like for an RPG.
Yeah, but this game is difficult.
Yes, it is. The game does have problems, and I think it's because that a
lot of this game is based off of like luck and, well, I guess just luck mostly.
right
Because it's like, because you get to the point where there are times where you get to the point where there are no enemies to fight, so you can't level up anymore, so you got to go and fight the boss. And it's like sometimes they get attacks that just wipe you out, and sometimes they don't, and sometimes you get lucky and, oh hey, for some reason I was able to dodge this or whatever, and
Right.
oh, now I did a decent amount of damage, or even oh hey, I got a couple of like cards that let me use my powers, like that's great too. Because I've gone through a couple boss battles where it's just like, I'm not finding any cards that let me use powers, so I'm stuck doing like 10 damage every turn to this guy.
Yeah, I had that happen to me.
Yeah.
I definitely had that happen to me a couple times too. It sucks. I think I suspect the reason behind that is because that Tosei and Bandai knew this game was going to be Japan only, because at the time Dragon Ball didn't really have a big market outside of Japan. So, and the Japanese RPGs notoriously are very, very difficult. So I think they just simply made the game difficult because they knew because they knew it was going to be like played by hardcore Japanese RPGers. So,
well, on top of that, this game doesn't explain anything to you.
Nope.
So, like, if you don't, first things first, if you don't really know the base story, then you have no idea what the heck you're doing. First of all,
there are some very good, there are some very good, FAQs for this game. I gave FAQs.
Yeah, those facts are like
gold.
early 2000s.
Well, but that's okay. Still, they still explained they still explained the game, how to play it, and who the characters were, and that kind of stuff. Like very, very helpful.
Yeah.
So, but
yeah. It's just crazy though, because there are times where the game's like making you do something,
mm-hmm.
and it's like, okay, you got to do this, and it's like, but what does this do? What comes out of it? Like, what good is it? And you know, like how am I supposed to be doing this? What am I looking for? And it's like you see or hear nothing, and it could be rough. Like, when I got to the battle with, you come across Nappa and Vegeta, which are the two powerful Saiyans that are supposed to, you know, look into what happened to Raditz, and then they figure out about the Dragon Balls, so now they want to find the Dragon Balls and wish for eternal life. So now you're fighting them, but so in this game, what are they called? They grow Cybermen, I believe they're called. And then you gotta fight a wave of them. I think it's only like a couple of them or something. And then they grow more, and it's like a full party of them. And that battle's a little rough. It's not super hard, but it definitely like wears you out. So you gotta make sure you have healing items. Yep. And then you gotta fight Nappa, and he just kicks your butt. And it's like, I mean, it took me 2 tries to beat him. But on top of this, like, there's dialogue and no save points. So I finally beat him. And then the story carries out, and, you know, Goku comes, and now he's fighting Vegeta, and Vegeta's very overpowered, and Goku's not leveled up well, and the gameplay is supposed to, you know, like, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to come in and rescue Goku with Gohan. But I got to that point, and I didn't save, and I thought it was, like, one of those things where it's like, oh, yes, I gotta do this, but, like, oh, I can go on my own now. So I screwed up and I didn't save, which was stupid on my part. But like, I took 2 steps, got into a battle, did the battle, and then it went back to Goku, and Goku was getting his butt kicked, and I lost. And I was like, well, now I have to do all of that over again. I have to do those 3 fights, make sure I save, and then make sure the first thing I do is make my way to Goku, because, oh my god,
yeah,
it's a lot of stuff like that, but I don't hate the game. It's just frustrating.
Early games were notorious for doing that. Not only Japanese games, but Western games like as well. Also, playing this game in emulation with save states definitely helped. I mean,
unless you save state at the wrong point, like I did.
Well, that's why I always use multiple save states.
Well, that's the thing. I didn't think of save stating until
I learned that lesson years ago.
Until I was like most of the way through that battle with Vegeta, and I got my butt kicked, and I was like, well, this is like 2 steps after I played as Gohan, so now I'm screwed, and I have to just load up that save before that big fight.
Yep, I hear ya. As difficult as this game is now, it would have been even like notorious 10 times harder if you played this actually back when it first came out. I mean, it would be 10 times harder to play, because if you didn't know Japanese, you wouldn't know how to play. I'm assuming you know. I'm assuming you can like read the language, but there's also a feature in this game which I thought was very nice. Like some mini games, which kind of serve for training purposes, and it seems like most of these draw directly from the anime. So
I mean, I wouldn't exactly call them mini games, because they're still technically fights.
Yeah, I suppose so.
It plays out just almost exactly like the battles do.
Right.
So.
Yep. You have like key training. You have bounty hunting. You have King Kai's gravity training. You have the racing game, what's his name? Like Dodoria? And like then you have like Goku's gravity training. So, yeah, and like I imagine a lot of this draws the source from the anime. So I don't know too much. Yeah. So yeah, I mean like none of these are must do's. But they do help you to. They do help you get either experience like or gold coins. So, doing some of them is least like recommended.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these are necessary because when Goku dies and goes to the spirit world or whatever you want to call it, and,
right?
Which another thing I want to bring up, a lot of the details of the story are like kind of skipped over, and like, oh, Goku went through Serpent Way and got to King Kai, and it's like, no, there was like 10 episodes of stuff happening to him while he was trying to run all that way on Snake Way, or whatever it's called. It's like the Serpent Path or Snake Way or something like that. Like there's that part where he falls off and he falls into hell, which my favorite part of the original dub, they, instead of calling it hell, they renamed it what was it? No, it was HFIL, which stood for the Home for Infinite Losers, which is just, I know they changed it like in a sense for it not to be funny, but it is so ironically funny how dumb it is.
That's great.
Yeah. They even there are actually even like if you play it frame by frame, there are actually times where you actually do see the shirt. Like there are guys that are wearing shirts that say hell on them, and obviously in that dub they had to correct it, so they kind of like photoshopped it or whatever. But there are frames in that original dub. If you play it frame by frame, you'll actually see that they missed a couple of frames where it says hell on their shirts. It's really stupid, but it's so funny. But yeah, there's a part where in the story where Goku accidentally falls to hell,
right?
And he's got to do a lot of, I think that's like 2 or 3 episodes he's there, and he's got to, do something to get back on the path. And then there's another one where there's this like serpent lady that like tries to trick Goku into something. She's trying to eat him, and I don't know. It's weird. And then he finally gets there. But there's like, I want to say there's at least like 5 episodes of him just running like on the serpent path and what's happening to him on top of, like everybody standing around, because if anyone took another 2 steps on Earth, Vegeta and Nappa would just totally eradicate them. So there's that. They probably cut that down to like 2 or 3 episodes just in general in the newer series. I do kind of want to watch that to see what they did. But yeah, the game just glosses over a lot of that stuff, and it's like, and Goku made his way to King Kai, and it's like, well, there's a lot more that happened. But okay, well, and also like some of the details are really weird, because I could have sworn, because there's when Raditz comes down, you fight him and everything. It's like, oh, I already told them about the Dragon Balls, and they're coming and everything. And it's like, I'm pretty sure they didn't know about the Dragon Balls until they landed on Earth, but I could be wrong about that. There's just some details that are a little, either they're fuzzy for me or they just don't seem right, but it's like, it's nitpicking at that point.
Well,
and I'm just bringing it up as an example. But yes, a lot of the details in the story are glossed over by like 2 text lines in the game.
Which they kind of had to do, like, for games. I kind of understand why they had to do it. I mean, like, I agree with you, it sucks, but, I also understand this is an early Super NES game. There's only so much they could, there's only so much they could fit to the game pack. They had to decide what elements of the story to focus on, like, what elements not to. So, I mean, like, it's kind of like, what, I can almost see the programmers debating themselves, saying like, what elements of the story would make for good gameplay? I mean, like, would this be fun? Would this be fun? Do we leave this out? It's like, it's kind of hard to try to decide. I can sympathize with the programmers. I don't know if they made the right choices or not. I don't have the show background knowledge that you do, and like some other fans do. I thought it was okay as it was, but I do understand that it's frustrating. Frustrating. I can certainly relate to that, but it is it is a difficult choice to make, because it's like, how do you take several years of content and cram it onto like a game pack? So
I was looking at the Dragon Ball wiki for this game, and I scrolled down, and under other characters are farmers. So when you're going around in the world, you can actually go into everybody's house.
Oh,
like
okay.
any other RPG, and there are farmers, which that's the thing I already knew. But I clicked on there's actually an article for farmers on the Dragon Ball wiki, and this is more towards like in the anime and the movies and everything.
Right,
But I just find it so funny. The farmer is an ostrich farmer. He was the first human to encounter the Saiyan warrior Raditz upon his arrival on Earth, and the first person shown to have a confirmed power level in Dragon Ball Z. And there's so much more in this article.
Yes.
Jeez.
Yeah, Dragon Ball fans are very passionate. I mean, this is certainly like one of the most biggest animes with the animes like a Western following, I'd probably say. So I do understand them wanting to obsess over the small details.
Sure.
But yeah, so
okay, there's also a picture of Dragon Ball Online, and there's a farmer. Okay. Sure.
Right.
Wait, is this Japanese only? You could go on. That
Yeah,
is
I don't think the
technically
first-
a rhetorical question.
Yeah, the first Dragon Ball games to come out in the West didn't happen until the early, late 1990s. One of the Game Boy Color card games came out here in the West originally, and then like some other games that followed. So, look at this list. A lot of the Dragon Ball games are still Japan only.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the music a little bit. I don't know. I don't know if any of the music comes from the anime. Did you recognize anything like in the same?
It has that type of style, but I don't think it's really
Okay, all right. I wasn't
like
sure
from the show itself.
Yeah, well, I like the music. The music, the music I thought sounded appropriate for the game of this type, and it sounded like pretty good.
Yes and no. They tried to have that kind of style, and they kind of pulled it off, but they kind of don't at the same time. I don't know how to explain it. Like,
Wow.
part of it kind of sounds like it really fits, and then another, like, the rest of it kind of just seems like RPG music.
Do you mean certain songs are better than other songs because of that, or
I wouldn't even just say certain songs. Oh, I'm sorry. You said certain songs are better than others. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
I mean, there's only I think 3 or 4 songs in this game.
Yeah, there's not that much,
You know?
unfortunately, but
Yeah.
another drawback of it being ported from NES games, I think. Yeah, so there's also a lot of secrets in this game. There's a lot of hidden.
Yeah.
So a lot of the hidden stuff. Did you find anything?
I found there's a character, Mr. Popo, was being surrounded by Cybermen.
Oh yeah,
And, And this was at the point where I wasn't finding any new enemies to fight. So I defeated them, and he was like, "Oh, thank you," blah blah blah. And then what happened was a cutscene happened where Piccolo and Goku were talking, and then they instantly went to where Raditz was, so I didn't have to go through the cave again.
Oh, cool.
Even though I already went through the cave. So apparently you might be able to actually skip the fake Raditz boss fight. Which there's a fake Raditz. I don't remember that in the series. There might be a thing. Actually, there is no article for fake Raditz, so no. That is a character made for the game, apparently, which is weird. It's
actually
Cybermen dressed up like Raditz. Well, not dressed up. That looks like Raditz, and then you defeat him, and it's like, oh no, it was a Cyberman.
Side note. Cybermen sounds like I'm so close to Cybermen from a Doctor Who. It's throwing me off. It's what are you talking about? But
There's somebody who wrote a fact and called them Cybermen, and I was like, that's not.
Yeah, that's Doctor Who. I mean, I mean, the name's very close. The first time you said it, so the first time you said it, I'm like, what?
Sounds close, but it's
Yeah.
not spelled. Yeah, it does. It's not spelled
Right.
close. Yeah.
The actual final fight in this game is actually kind of a secret fight. So I'm not even like counting that as far as the secrets of this game goes.
Yeah, I see
But-
that. I'm looking at that right
Yeah.
now.
Most secrets, I won't go over all the secrets here because there's a lot of them. Most of them involve like getting certain characters for certain to show up for certain fights, or getting cards earlier, earlier than they should have. The quick leveling up one definitely sounds handy. I wish I'd known about this one. That's
Yeah, I wish I knew about this too.
when Goku, Vegeta, or Gohan reaches health level below 5, you can use a certain card. And this list here gives the name of the cards to heal the character on them, and they'll grow one level. This particular article also makes this. This particular article also goes on to explain. Quote: This is actually not the show. Where Vegeta tells Carlin to hurt him badly, and then let Dendy heal him so he becomes stronger. So interesting.
This is interesting. Based on Goku's performance on King Kai's planet, he can return before, during, or after the battle with Nappa. Goku can return before the battle with Nappa if Piccolo kills Raditz with any attack other than the, Makan Kosapu. Kosapo. Goku takes damage from the... and if Goku never messes up on King Kai's planet. So you have to be perfect, but also... See, I actually almost half did that. Because my cards, I was not getting power-up cards to do... Like, this is what's really cool. Sometimes the story stuff, they like gloss over with text lines, but sometimes you actually have to play out parts of the story. And this is one of those things, the Raditz battle, he's too powerful. So what you have to do is actually, it's annoying because you have to use a specific card. You have to get it from Mr. Popo, I think.
Right, yep.
I'm not 100% sure. But there's a specific card you have to use, and then what it does is it does the thing where Goku grabs Raditz and says, Piccolo, shoot me with your demon. I think the English version is Demon Wave or something like that.
Right, okay.
And Piccolo is supposed to shoot Goku and Raditz and kill them both. And then that continues the story. But in this game, you don't have to do that. You can actually kill Raditz by pummeling him or using other powers. And of course it hurts Goku, but it doesn't hurt him as much. So I think you might be able to kill Raditz without killing Goku in this game. Or something like that. Or maybe, or like the trivia says that he comes back quicker or something like that. So that's really interesting. I don't want to say it loosely follows the story, but it follows the story and also has... it has some ambitions to change it up a little bit as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So this super secret boss fight, for the second ending, that sounds pretty cool because I always appreciate games games that do that. But you got to sit through the credits in order to get that secret boss fight to start. So it's I hate games that do that.
That's cool.
Because, how many people? Because a lot of folks would turn the game off for the credits. So I wonder how many people back then missed that. But second, oh my god, this boss fight, this battle power of 6 million.
Hey-o.
Yeah. But if you win, you get a different ending. So that's pretty cool.
This game only goes up to Frieza being the last boss, which is decently early on in the series. But that makes sense considering this game's from 92 or 92, whatever.
Yep, yeah. So, thank God for YouTube. YouTube these days. That's all I can say about that. But,
the internet in general, really.
Yeah. So, there's actually this game's actually gotten quite a lot of reviews by people since it came out in the West. Many of them mixed, but more positive than negative. It looks like. Which I which I was like surprised by. So, the average summary of the scores is about 3.5, like the 5 stars. So not bad.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Right. So, yeah, and they give the average. So like they get the average playing time being 30 hours. I don't know. This feels longer to me than that. So, I guess like your mileage.
I don't know.
Your mileage will vary, but yeah. So you mentioned one of the Famicom Dragon Ball games having cool box art. Look at these pictures overall. Like about.
Well, I didn't say box art. I said it had a cool design on the cart.
It's probably the same graphic on both the box and the cart. But yeah, looking at these pictures like the Super NES Dragon Ball games, they're all very cool looking. Yeah, they're all like very impressive.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah.
So
it's not like North American box art.
Right. So, yeah. So, do I want to talk briefly about this? As I mentioned before, there are literally dozens upon dozens of Dragon Ball games that have come out. The most recent game just came out. Actually, the most recent game come out in the West was Dragon Ball Fighter Z for multiple systems last year.
Yeah, that's a fighting game. They went back to fighting games, which is annoying. I decided not to pick it up because it's a fighting game. But if anyone's looking for some cool Dragon Ball Z games that are on modern platforms, you can definitely check out Dragon Ball Xenoverse and Xenoverse 2. Yeah. Those work off of the original storyline of Dragon Ball Z, but like with a twist, because somebody has gone back in time and changed the events.
Right. And
then they also add like other stuff on top of that, and it adds to the story, which is really cool. So you're playing as like a third party character, like a character that doesn't know this, technically, quote unquote, doesn't know this history, and somebody who doesn't have any ties to the characters beforehand, and it's really cool. It's kind of like a beat 'em up in a sense. I'm sure some people would say it's a fighting game, but it's like an RPG beat 'em up type of game. And you can build your character in different ways, and you can play as different races. You could play as a human, you could play as a Saiyan, you could play as one of the Majin characters, which I think Majin characters are like supposed to be like quote unquote devils or something like that.
Right. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. There's a few different types of characters, but yeah, Xenoverse 2, some good games.
Yep. Also here, it looks like that Dragon Ball Fusions for the like the 3DS also got very high marks.
Oh, that's right. That game. Yeah.
They also released, however, last year for cell phone, Dragon Ball Legends, which is a card game. So that kind of goes back to its like card roots.
Yes.
And there's a game coming out. Later on this year in Japan. Hopefully, it comes out here in the West for the Switch and PC called Super Dragon Ball Heroes World Mission, which is a strategy game.
Oh, interesting.
Yep. So we'll see if it gets Western release. Maybe not. I mean, like I said before, there's still a lot of Dragon Ball games that don't come out in the West, even though Dragon Ball has become a lot more popular here. So, we'll see. So it depends upon what Bandai Namco feels like the market's like. But so if you want this game, a physical copy of this game, it's pretty cheap. Even though the fact this game was Japan only, keep in mind, of course, that you have to keep in mind, of course, unless you play in like a retcon or something, you have to be playing like Japanese. So, there are 35 copies of this game are currently listed on eBay. 47 copies that I recently sold. 6 of those copies I sold recently were sold by North American sellers. So, the prices I'm going to mention here are for those. The prices that I'm going to talk about here are for those 6 North American cells. The Japanese cells are a little bit more expensive because of shipping, because of course it's coming from Japan. So, this game's quite cheap. Card only, the game's anywhere from $5.65 to $11.
I want that. I want the cartridge now.
One CIB copy sold for $15, and somebody also was offering a translated version of the game. Like, you know how they take Japanese only games and stick them in a North American style Super NES cart. Like the translation like already applied to it.
Yeah, repro cart.
Yeah, repro cart. $36.25.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, for somebody taking the work to put it like North
I'd
American
say
style
that's kind of a
cards.
little expensive, like maybe $30, but
Yeah, well.
yeah.
So prices are not that bad like for this game. So I have a hard time recommending this game or not because, like I said, my experience with the franchise is very limited. I do like I do like card games. I do like RPGs. I like this game. There are parts of this game I like. I like the overall card system that they use in the battles. It's very cool. I like how the game seems faithful to the show. I do like the fact it's a very challenging RPG, but like I said, it's a very challenging RPG. So
yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of the series, maybe. If you're a big fan of the series, yes.
Yep.
If you're not really into it, then no.
Nope, pass.
Yeah.
Yep, that summary pretty much. That summary's pretty much how I feel about this also. So, is it hidden gem as far as Dragon Ball Z games go? Maybe.
I wouldn't really say it's a hidden gem. I would say that it's a good game, but
Yeah.
it's pretty rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the latest Super NES Dragon Ball Z games seem to get higher marks.
Oh, that's cool. Are they RPGs? I haven't even looked into them yet.
You would ask me that. Let me take a look here.
You know how many times I've heard you say that? If you expected me to ask you that type of question, wouldn't you have an answer for it by now?
So let's see. The Dragon Ball Z Super Butendu 1 and 2 games are action games, so they sound like fighting games.
Okay.
There's also there's also a Genesis game too, which I didn't know about.
I know there's some other Dragon Ball Z games in the 2D era that are RPGs, but I can't think of what they are right now.
Yep. So, no, this seems to be the only RPG game in Super NES. The rest of them are action and fighting games.
All right.
So, there would not be another. The next RPG game was not until the Game Boy in 1994.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So, yep, Game Boy is a good system for that. A lot of hidden gems on the Game Boy as far as like RPG games go.
Huh? But we don't talk about that on this podcast, do we?
Nope. Hopefully somebody eventually will do a Game Boy podcast. That'd be pretty cool. But that ought to be a daunting project. How many games came out with the Game Boy? Even sheesh. But
too many.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, nope. I didn't hate the game. I liked it for what it was. I think the game's, I think the game would have summed up better if it hadn't been an expanded version of an expanded port of two Famicom games. But yeah, what George said about the game as far as the summary, like, is very, very accurate. So
yeah.
Anyway, we want to thank you again for listening to this episode as always. We are a proud member of both the Throwback Network Retro Junkies through their networks, where you can find a whole bunch of other great retro-themed podcasts, both gaming and non-game related. Be sure to check us out on Facebook. We have a page on there. You can also send me an email directly if you want to the SNESpodcast@yahoo.com. We also have a Patreon. We're a Patreon, which is found at www.patreon.com/the SNES podcast, where you can get some cool goodies such as like early access to the episodes, being able to have a game dictated for you on the show, and also being shouted out in the episode like I'm going to do now. Many thanks to both Richard and Swim for being supporters of the show. George, where can they find you at? Like the show, like so inclined.
Oh boy, I guess Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at Mr. Chief at MISTURCHEEF, and yeah.
Okay. Yes. So next time on this podcast, we're doing a very curiosity-driven game. mostly because I'm curious to see how good or bad it is. I saw a few days ago somebody posted on one of the groups on Facebook. We talked about before in the past how Super NES prices are pretty high overall right now. For reasons that we've already talked about before in the past. People who are the biggest reason being just like demand's high because people who were kids when the system came out are now the age where they're becoming collectors and have disposable income, so that's driving prices up. But anyway, this person on Facebook posted a post about how this one Super NES game I never heard of, based on a movie I've never seen, had sold for a ridiculous $677 on eBay recently, for like a CMA copy. So that I was like, on my curiosity up. We're gonna be looking at we're gonna be looking at that game in the next episode to see does it worth that price? Is the game decent or not? It's the game Three Ninjas Kick Back, based upon the movie of that same title.
All right.
Yep.
Am I gonna hate you for this?
Possibly.
All right.
So, fair warning, next episode could be interesting. But as always, thank you again for the support. Like it means a lot to us. And George, do you have some Pippi Dragon Ball Z related comment to sign us off out with?
Kamehameha.
Okay, that works. I have no idea what you said, but it works.
That's the signature attack, dude.
Okay, all right. I got you. Cool.
Yeah.
Got it. Yep. Makes sense. Okay. Well, on that note, later all.
Bye.
Take care.
Nintendo controls 80% of the video market. But no matter how you play the game, or which game you play, things definitely have come a long way since Pac-Man. Now you're playing with power. Super power.